So when I was first asked to speak in the summer, I sat down on my computer and I kind of started brainstorming. And my 2-year-old son immediately came up to me, put his hands up and said, Momo, Momo. And I was like, no, we're not watching Elmo. And my 5-year-old daughter came over to me and she said, what are you working on? Because she knows when I'm at the laptop, I'm working. And I said, well, Mommy's been asked to do this talk and I'm not really sure what I'm going to say. And I'm kind of nervous. And this was in the summer. And she said, what's nervous? And I said, well, you know when I took you to Pedalheads last week and you really didn't want to take off your training wheels and you said you felt kind of sick in your stomach? I said, that's sometimes nervous. And she kind of took that in and she looked at me and she goes, Mommy, sometimes you just have to take your training wheels off. And I was like, can I just retire from parenting now and go out on a high note? Because you're awesome. Anyways, you know our kids say that shit, right? You're like, ha! You're great. So anyways, that's her. And so today I want to talk a little bit about connection and community. And for the purpose of today's talk, you know, connection means one thing to me. It might mean something to you guys, something differently. So for the purpose of today's talk, I wanted to give you a definition of connection that I found. And I think we're all like, Brene Brown was quoted. Yeah, this is, Brene is like kind of, I dig her stuff. So anyways, she says, connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So connectedness can really build community. But you know, there was a time when I felt really disconnected in my life and disconnected in my community. And I felt alienated, I felt sad, I felt desolate. And that was the time when I became a mother for the first time, which was kind of the opposite of what I thought I was going to feel. I thought I was going to feel this deep sense of connection to my daughter, to Mother Earth. Like I had this unrealistic expectation that like motherhood was going to be angels, like lining down the street with trumpets as I strolled down with my new mountain buggy and my like deluxe, you know, cup holder and my new great bag. And it wasn't like that at all. My daughter had a different idea about that because she had colic. And she was an unhappy little baby. She was the baby, you know that purple cry video that they give you at the hospital? And I was like, I'm not gonna have to watch this. And then like 2 weeks later, the like 3 to 4 times a week, 5 to 6 hours a day. And I could not go anywhere with this child because I felt like I was going to be judged. People would be like, don't worry if she's crying. I'm like, yeah, she's going to cry for like the next 5 hours. And it was really hard because I am super social. So being really social and extroverted and being alone is like death. My husband traveled a lot. And I remember this one time where she had kind of an epically bad day, and I did as well. And I still kind of get emotional when I think about it. I literally went into the emergency because she'd been screaming for like 5 hours. And I tell you, you get beelined through emergency if you have like a 4-month-old that is screaming, and people are like, oh my God, get that child in. I can't listen to this anymore. I'm like, I've been listening to her for 5 hours. And so they checked her all out, and you know, the nurse kind of looked at me and she kind of smiled and she was like, she's fine. And I was like, no, take her. Like, I don't really want her right now. I don't know if I can deal with it. But I had to take her home. She cried for another hour. And it was about midnight at this point. And I remember standing over her, trying to jam the soother in her mouth. And this inner voice hit me, step back from the child. And I did. And my whole body just became hot. And I was like, get out, like step out. And so I went into my bedroom, I closed the door, I went into the bathroom, I closed the door, and I fell on the floor and I bawled my eyes out. And I gathered enough strength because I got a screaming child in the other room, and I called my girlfriend and I was like, you have to come over here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she came over at like midnight with like a hot chocolate from Starbucks, and she took my daughter and she helped me and she gave me just a little bit of peace. And it was enough strength to sort of, you know, get through. And anyways, you know, she looked at me, and I have a slide here, and I don't know where it's gone. Okay. Anyways, she looked at me, she grabbed my hand on the way out. She said, you know what, Jen? This too shall pass. And I've thought about that so many times in my life when you think you're in this moment that, oh my God, this is the worst feeling in the world, and how am I ever gonna get through this? But when I look back now, I think, oh God, that feels like a blip, you know? Like it was so long ago, it was like 5 years ago, and she's awesome now. And I'm pretty sure I paid for it early on, and she's just gonna be great for the rest of her life. So the good news is I got through it. And you know what? Kaylee became happy, and I came back to work, and I started my new job as the executive director at the CKNW Orphans Fund. Philanthropy's always been so important to me in my life, and it took me 12 years to work in like the corporate world before I realized I really kind of love this volunteering thing. Maybe I should just do it for a living. So I really started to kind of reclaim myself, sort of inch by inch. And I started to kind of, reconnect with people. I started networking in van.com, which was really to foster connections and community between people. And I've always been, I have these awesome slides, but I don't know where they are. But I have actually always been inspired by Mother Teresa's work. And a quote from her I use often. I actually emblazoned it on my wall. So every day I walk out, and it's one of those nice stencils that I made my husband put up. And I was like, you're doing it wrong. And it says, we can do no great things, only small things with great love. And as a mother, often we feel super overwhelmed on a day-to-day basis. And I kind of look at that and I'm like, no road rage today, Jen, okay? Just like niceness and kindness. And that's CKNW Orphans Fund. There's Mother Teresa. And so in the context of being a mom, I always try and think about sort of the small things every day to connect with people. And a couple of things I've really tried to step away from are, number one, judgment, because I've realized that when I judge, it's usually not about the other person. It probably never is, actually. It's all about how I'm feeling inside. So when I'm like, oh yeah, those super moms that bake those like cupcakes with beets in them and like drop them off on Valentine's Day, and I forgot to you're supposed to give all these other kids Valentine's Day cards? Nobody told me this. And I'm like, whatever, she's got way too much time, super judgy. Oh wait, it's because I feel like I'm not a good enough mother in that sort of way. So, and another thing I've also tried to do is small gestures can make a big difference. I've really tried a concerted effort to smile at more people and to make small talk in the elevator in my office building, which I spend a lot of time in. And I can't tell you how many interesting conversation and cool people I have met as a result of talking to people in the elevator. New donors, new friends. So really building that TD community, the TD Tower community. There's a girl from my office in here somewhere. She knows what I'm talking about. So, that's a Dalai Lama quote. Be kind whenever possible. It's always possible. It's something I really try and remember every day. I think deep down, all of us want to be part of something bigger. We want to inspire our children and leave this place in a better earth, or in a better place. And so, I challenge you guys to think about sort of today, next week, next month, what are some really small things that you can do that can lay a foundation for bigger change in the world? I kind of speak the same language as Andrea. So thanks so much. I appreciate it. Great group of women here. And that's it.
Thank you.